Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. It's John Potter, Pressfix Director of Player Development. Today we want to talk about hitting a knockdown shot. Okay. In Minnesota, anywhere in the Midwest, not just in the Midwest, coastal, you're going to have this too. A lot of wind. Not much wind break here in the Midwest. It's pretty flat, especially in the spring. Coming up here, you're going to have a lot of days of 20 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour winds, gusts to 40 sometimes. How do you play golf on those days? Sometimes you don't. You say, I'm not going to play on those days. But we get a lot of those days, so it really limits when you can't play. So a couple things. We don't want to hit the ball real high initially to throw it up into the wind. We also don't want to spin it real high and get that ball to climb up into the wind. You've all seen that shot, that balloons. Takes off just fine, kind of low, looks like it's going to penetrate the wind, and then it goes up into the wind. That's a high spin shot. They don't always launch high, okay? So let's talk about those two things. We need to launch it low and spin it low, okay? So let's think of, I'm going to dumb this down a little bit and oversimplify. I understand there's a lot more to it than this. We can talk about what's more to that if you'd like. But for now, let's talk about launching it low. We're going to talk about launching it low in terms of loft on the club face. Let's take I've got a 7-iron here. I'm just going to hit a shot here and just see kind of what a normal 7-iron launch is for me. Oh, was I in a bad spot here? Did I lose connection here? No, 1 second, I'm sorry. Bear with me. I lost my connection. Settings. All right, let's try that again. Sorry about that. I'm going to hit a normal 7-iron. We're just going to see what kind of launch and spin rates we get to compare it to. So normal 7-iron, vertical launch at 20.2 degrees. Spin is at 71.75 on a 7-iron. Okay, so what we need to do is launch it lower, spin it lower. It might affect our total distance, but that's okay. That's not the thought right now. We're just trying to advance the ball to the hole as efficiently as possible on this really, really windy day. We need to launch it lower, spin it lower. How are we going to do that? Well, step one, don't change the ball position. I see a lot of people slam that ball way back in their stance. What happens then is you trap the ball with such a steep angle of attack. Two things, actually. One, your angle of attack is really steep because that ball's back on that back foot and that club's still working down as it hits it. Which adds a ton of spin. It might launch low because what you're doing is taking that 7-iron loft, and as we move it back, you can see there's a lot less loft on it. That's fine, but now the club's working down really steep. So it might launch initially kind of low, but it's going to fly up into the wind and balloon just like the other one. What we need to do is keep the ball centered or about, and we're going to press our weight into our front foot. Now my center of gravity is forward. It kind of acts like the ball's back, but it's not, right? Because of my width, I still have my width of my arc. I'm just putting my center of gravity on my front foot, maybe 70-30 to start. One thing that's really different from a normal swing is I'm not going to shift my weight. I'm not going to feel this load into my trail side, okay? That's going to take the loft off the club and keep it off, okay? So I'm going to set up 70-30. At the top of my backswing, I'm still going to be there, leading or on my lead side. That's different. The other thing we're going to do is stay wide. We're not going to add a lot of wrist hinge to this because that wrist hinge and hold is a lot to do with angle of attack. Like we talked about, moving it back would cause a steep AOA. If I use a lot of wrist and lag and hold that, now I'm coming down steep on it too, and that's going to cause a lot of spin and up in the air. So we're going to see if we can get this ball to launch. I was at 20.2, spin at 71.75. Let's see if I can launch this lower. Normal setup, again, I'm still about center, but I'm going to press forward, and I'm going to stay wide with my wrists, okay? So I'm not going to add a lot of wrist hinge like I normally would. I'm going to try to keep the wrists kind of out of it. It might be a little bit of a draw bias shot because it's launching kind of smothering with my weight forward. The club's going to have a tendency to want to be in to out at that point at impact. We'll see what happens here. Weight 70-30 forward. I'm going to stay wide. Very little wrist. Okay, a little bit of a draw in there. Let's see what that launch and spin was. Honestly, I don't know if you can see that. I almost hit the pin. Total distance was 9 yards shorter launch, vertical launch angle, 12.6 degrees, spin 5,400. So I came down from 7,100 spin to 5,400, launch from 20 to 12. Huge improvement. That's a shot you can play in the wind. Have fun with that. Experiment a little bit. Let me know if you guys have any questions about why we're doing this the way we're doing this, or if you have any other ideas. Weight forward, stay forward, very little wrist. I like that. Good luck.